Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United cannot ignore this issue. Many Manchester United fans want to talk about signings. Will it be Anderson? Will it be Tonali? Will it be Labour? But absolutely the number one priority for United is to keep Bruno Fernandes at this football club for the long term. Not just next season, I think the year after that as well, because it's a very realistic prospect that he could leave the club this summer. And it's not something we can afford to wait. When we listen to the credible sources, we hear things like Bruno Fernandes is going to wait till after the World Cup and he's going to survey the scene and he's going to make his choice. With all due respect, Portugal will go deep in the World Cup. We're talking quarterfinals. We're talking the first week of July. Then he's going to need a holiday. Are you seriously telling me that in this biggest of big summers for Manchester United, where they're going to have a new manager and it's going to need to be a big rebuild, our most important player, we're going to wait until the back end of July to see if he wants to stay or not? You can't do that. You can't build a new thing on foundations of sand that could fall away at any moment. This is an absolute priority. It is urgent, and United need to deliver something that makes sure this happens. Because if you're in a situation where you're talking to Bruno and he's saying, well, I'm not sure, I might do, I might not, you've got to work on the assumption that he's going to go, and you've got to put something on the table that basically is, sign that, it's as good as it's going to get, and we'll keep you. Because there is no doubt that, well, look, let me tell you the story. Last summer on this channel, in the first week of June, 74% of us said sell Bruno Fernandes. It was after the Europa League final. It was after we'd finished 15th. We'd hit what we thought was rock bottom and felt now was the time to sell the sacrificial lamb and use those funds to bring him into the club, bring change to the club. From what we're hearing, Bruno Fernandes in his interview in November felt that that's what the club were trying to do. And from what we're hearing from some journalists is that the club were actually briefing out that it was going to happen and they were expecting that money to come in. So we sit here and go, Bruno Fernandes clearly has a bit of an issue with the ownership. Maybe not with Amrin, maybe not with Carrick, but he does have an issue with the ownership, and he said that in his interview. So there is no doubt that he's walking into this summer transfer window surveying the scene as the best number 10 in the Premier League and one of the best number 10s in Europe. And that's scary because I think the prospect of Saudi is something about money. It is. We've seen young and old players go there, and we sort of look at it and go, you can understand what the Saudi League's trying to do, but from a competitive respect, nobody does. It's about the money and trying to build something new. So that is sort of like, well, you stay in the Premier League and you play in the Champions League for Man United, or you're going to make a load of money in Saudi. You're too good to go to Saudi at the moment, so we would expect to win that argument. But I don't think that's just the argument. I actually think with this release clause for Bruno Fernandes, if he decides he wants to go, there may be clubs like Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG that look at Bruno Fernandes and go, he's actually really good. And he might look at it and go, I actually quite fancy that. And that's the scary thing with Bruno. I think we've got a great chance of keeping him if we're in the Champions League, but we can't sit and wait. We can't sit and let him think. We can't sit and let him allow to be with Portugal and people ringing him up and saying, we really want to build you a couple of years around you in Paris or in Munich or in Madrid. We can't do that because that call could come in. It's too much of a risk. So what I think we've got to do is basically drop a new contract on the table. He's got a contract till the end of next season and then the option of another year. He's believed to be on about 300 grand a week. Nothing is going to stop him going to the World Cup and saying, I'll make my mind up afterwards, unless we make him make his mind up. And that mind could be, I want to go. Okay, well, we want to get it, at least we know. Or it could be, instead of going to the World Cup and having a think, sign this contract and don't think about anything other than Man United. Because we cannot ignore it. It's a big issue. We can't just go, I think Bruno's going to stay. I think he might leave. We have to own that conversation. That's what Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada's job is. You've got to remove the uncertainty. And the bad thing is as well, we're trying to do a rebuild. We're trying to sell players we want to move on. We're trying to get a new manager in, whether it's Carrick or whoever. We don't want to be wasting time that we don't have trying to persuade Bruno Fernandes, our most important player, to leave. So you use the time now. You don't wait until July to try and persuade him or replace him. You use time now that you can't use to buy a player or bring a manager in, and you say to Bruno Fernandes, there's a 3-year deal, it's 350 grand a week, it's a 50 grand a week pay rise, sign it. We're going to be in the Champions League, sign it. He gets a 50 grand a week pay rise. And people go, oh no, don't give him any more money, we're trying to reduce the wage bill. Why don't give him any more money? 50 grand a week for Man United across a year is what? 3 million? 3 million a year to keep Bruno Fernandes? 3 million on top of a wage we already pay? I'm happy to pay bloody Mbappe £500,000 a year. I'm happy to play Haaland 450 grand a year because they're top players. I don't care about the wage bill if you're paying for players that are worth it. If Bruno Fernandes leaves, we're losing a guy that will definitely get the most assists in the Premier League next season again and again. For an extra 50 grand a week, he tells you I'm staying and I'm here next season. And the alternative is, oh, let's wait and see what he wants to do in July. You've got to, I think he's expecting it. You've got to drop something on the table that's an incentive. And if we do, and he signs it, we don't have to wait and see in July. We know we've got Bruno next year. If he doesn't sign it, you probably realise there's a big chance he's going to go. We need to get working on a replacement. But we can't ignore it. We can't ignore this. We've got to do something about it now. And the best thing we can do is drop a contract out there. Or is there a subtle United want to move him out because we want to get their wage bill down even more? Do you trust this club that they're not trying to push him out for his wage? Bruno himself said he felt it. Bruno in his interview in November basically alluded to that. What if United are quite relaxed about him going? That would be criminal. We can't lose Bruno Fernandes. And going back to what I said about the 74% of us who voted for Bruno to go in that first week in June, I'll put my hand up, I was there. I voted for it. But there was context. At that time, it was spoken that Bruno would play in the midfield. And I said, if Bruno's going to play in the midfield, I would sell him to Saudi and take the 90 million and rebuild the team. However, if he's going to play as a number 10, you never sell Bruno Fernandes. And we've seen that in the last 4 weeks. Bruno Fernandes in the number 10 is the best number 10 in the Premier League. We can't lose that unless he demands he wants to go. We can't lose that because we sit on our arse and wait till July. We can't lose that because we want to save 300 grand a week. We have to get on this. We have to put something in the table, and if he turns it down and he wants to go, there's not a lot we can do. But we have to fight tooth and nail to get Bruno Fernandes, and we do not let this go through the summer of we don't know what's going to happen. You've got to get this pinned down quickly. Of course, the elephant in the room is going to be, what if Bruno says, I want to know who the manager is? In which case, you've got to solve that as well. But people say Cunha could replace Bruno. Cunha's a very good player, but do you realise what you're replacing? Talisman of the team, gets goals, gets assists. We've got enough to rebuild without replacing Bruno Fernandes. I mean, you look at Man City and the team they were, replacing De Bruyne. It's a big thing to do, and you've still got a good team left. United, we haven't got an amazing team, and then you've got to replace your most important player. We can't ignore this. That's my opinion. We've got to get on this, and there's no reason why we can't. Let me know your thoughts. Smash a like on the video, and I'll speak to you on the next one.